here at Oasis reunion with Wackie Valdez. Joaquin, what's your stage name?
Well, Joaquin Pedro. I use my
Joaquin
name.
Pedro.
Apparently there it's more exciting to hear.
Oh, Wackie's back from London, having been there for what? It's been over a year now, 2 years?
Almost 2 years now.
So I'm going to interview him and he can share insights on how it is to be an actor in London.
I've been in London for almost 2 years. It was a 1-year contract with Miss Saigon, but immediately after I went to King and I, transferred shows to King and I. So I'm in a little break before the last leg of the King and I, which goes back in the UK.
Are you decided that you're going to pursue theater
Yeah, it looks like that.
in the West for now?
Yeah. It kind of caught me by surprise because the long and short of it is I had a very long advertising career here, directing commercials, and it kind of burnt me out. And throughout those 10 years of directing commercials, once in a while, if I would need my soul back, I'll go back to the theater because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I decided I was gonna no longer use it as a respite and go full time, but I wanted to go full time abroad. Ang totoo niyan is medyo nalungkot ako nung hindi ako natanggap for Saigon the first round.
Okay.
Because I auditioned here
Which round was this? The one with Sina Red?
with Red, yeah,
Okay.
for 2016. And I didn't make it. And I realized that I really wanted to just be in theater, not necessarily in Miss Saigon. And I thought that Miss Saigon was going to be a good excuse and a good reason for me to leave,
Okay.
right? And I didn't get it. So I told my wife, okay, I'm not going to go into Miss Saigon, I'm going to study. So I applied for schools and I got into one of my top schools in London. Applied for a Master's in Advanced Theater Practice. And I said, I'm going to take my Master's in theater and I'm going to try and find a career there as a theater actor, a theater director. And when I made that decision and when I got the admission letter from my university, I got the email from Saigon saying,
Wow.
we want you for the next contract. So it's like, okay, it's like the universe is telling me something.
Okay.
And I actually asked my wife, should I still do Saigon? Because I already got accepted in school. She's like, you were gonna go to school to do that. So
Yeah.
might as well do that. And it's for the best producer in the industry. I'm like, okay, I'll do Miss Saigon. So it's funny. So I did Miss Saigon for 1 year. It was a great experience. Really learned a lot about myself as well. And then,
Tell me about that. I mean, this is a show that has been around for more than 30 years.
Yeah.
Practically all the Filipinos, our friends, have been in that show.
right.
What was it like when your first day at rehearsal? What was that like? Parang all of a sudden it's your reality.
Yeah, there was a lot of pinch me moments, a lot. Like, I've been listening to Miss Saigon since I was 5 years old, right? And it's so common knowledge. And I was telling my British castmates, I don't think a lot of them realize exactly how big and how cultural Miss Saigon is to the Filipino actor. Mainly, of course, because it was such a big deal when Leia and that first group of Filipinos flew over. And they have no idea. These young British actors have no idea how big a deal it is in the internationals. At least in Manila.
another show.
To them, it's a good show. It's a big Cameron Macintosh show. But then they don't realize the impact it's made in our ethos as Filipinos. They just have no idea. So I was just like bright-eyed and just like catching myself with my jaw to the floor so many times in rehearsals. You're very eager, a little over-eager, and just keen, and just don't want to mess things up consciously, because it was like a is this really happening moment. I remember the first time we had music rehearsals for Buidoy, and when the whole male ensemble sang it together, just in rehearsal, I think I teared up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're actually singing it. We've sung it many other times here back in Manila, but then never on that level and that scale. And it was very surreal. And then of course my first bow in Manchester. I was in the back line. But just to take it all in, this is my first international vow. It was really, really surreal. And then that kind of ended quickly. That, you know, that overwhelming feeling ended quickly because now work begins. The real work begins, which is 8 shows a week.
Tell me
Daily
what
grind.
that's like. Okay. Tell me what that's like. I mean, sanay ka sa mga short runs dito sa atin.
Sanay tayo na 5 weekends,
Yeah.
5 show weekends, right?
Right.
And then you have Monday to Thursday, you're not doing anything, you can take rackets, you
Right.
can do other stuff. This is
Bigla
your
na lang.
full-time work.
So how does that feel like?
It's tough because one is the burden is on you as the actor that they employed to keep the standard high. They hired you because you are competent to deliver the quality and the standard and the intensity and the truth that they want from an actor 8 shows a week. So you really can't let the ball drop. And it's also your responsibility to take care of yourself because it's not an easy scene.
People get injured.
People get injured. I mean, people get sick. When the weather changes, when winter hits you, or you know, hay fever, which is the first time I encountered it as well there. The burden is on you to keep yourself fit. Of course, they're very like they're very, you know, maalaga sa mga actors nila. They have, you know, you're allowed sick leaves, and you know you have a in-house physio that will make sure that your injuries and your body is kept in check. They have all of the facilities so that you can deliver your work, which is great. But then the tough part is you're working 8 shows a week, right? And if you're not doing the show at night, you're rehearsing. If you're an understudy like me and I was covering a couple of roles, you're rehearsing in the day and then doing the show in the evening.
Talaga?
Yeah. So I mean, it's constant work.
When you say rehearsal, ikaw lang yun? Or
Sometimes just you and the dance captain, or you and the resident director. Lalo na kung cover ka, you don't get the privilege of rehearsing with the whole company.
Kaya nga
You're
eh.
rehearsing with the swings, and then they give you a cover rehearsal if you're lucky, a full cover run, wherein you can wear the costumes and all of that, no audience, and run it with the rest of the company if you're lucky. Sometimes not all the companies or all the shows have that time in their schedule to give you a full run.
When you say cover run, lahat ng mga nagka-cover?
Lahat ng nagko-covers will play the principal roles that they cover, and then the swings and the ensemble come on board. But when you're rehearsing, you're only rehearsing with the swings. So, like when I was covering the engineer, I was rehearsing Dreamland, the busiest scene in the show, with just like 5 people. So it's very, very tough. And the piano, of course.
So when you say cover, nag-cover ka ng engineer, Tuy, all
I
of
covered engineer and I covered Tui, apart from my track.
that? Sino ka-batch mo?
Kabatch ko si Aisel Santos tsaka si Eroy Abisami.
Okay.
Pero sumabay kami sa previous batch with Red Concepcion.
Nakabot kayo ni Red?
Yeah, nagabot kami before he went to
Jureen?
yeah. So Jureen stayed throughout her first contract and then our second contract. Yeah, so we were with Jureen as well. A couple of other Filipinos. Dami namin sa sa Miss Saigon, I think yung hierarchy ng majority race. Ang una niyan sa isang Miss Saigon company, I think at any given moment, ang una niyan is Brits, of course. The next yan is Filipinos. In terms of dami ng representation. And then the next is everyone else. Singaporeans, Indonesians, Malaysians, South Koreans. Yeah, so
But Filipinos, some are raised there, some are... iba-iba.
at least for our tour, most of the Filipinos that were hired were from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So marami rin. Others have been with the show for a long time, like Chuck Marbella, been with the show since 2000. So medyo matagal na rin. So yeah, but mostly Pinoy talaga.
Okay.
It's really that it's such a peculiar relationship with Miss Saigon and the Filipinos. So talagang it's a unique relationship.
And so do the Brits feel that way as well?
Yeah,
Pinoy yan eh. Pinoy or whatever.
Yeah, they know that chances are there's going to be a lot of Filipinos because we still have that reputation that Filipinos are amazing singers. Pero ngayon, ang dami na. In terms of the Asian musical theater actors, we have Malaysians, we have Singaporeans, we had actual Thai actors, Indonesians.
You were mentioning earlier that dating advantage ng Filipinos are language. We speak English,
Right.
we sing well, but you're also saying nagka-catch up ng ibang countries?
Yeah. Because, like in South Korea, for example, there are musical theater drama schools, and they produce their own musical theater industry is quite expansive as well. So I think a lot of it, like I have a castmate that's Malaysian right now in The King and I, speaks great English, sounds great as well, sings really well. So it's catching up in terms of training. I think we kind of lost that wide competitive advantage before because other neighboring countries started to develop their training programs. So skill-wise, there's so many skilled Hong Kong actors and singers.
Really?
Thai.
Magaling na sila
Malaysian.
kumanta?
Yeah. Husay. Really good. So, yeah, it says a lot. I don't think we can really just bank on talent anymore.
So what do you recommend Filipinos need to do
It's
to
really
prepare?
skill development.
Which is
Voice,
singing, acting, voice,
singing, acting, and dance.
dance.
Yeah. But then, see, dance or movement is a little. I mean, there are some shows where casters will really cast X amount of dancers, and they're going to be very specific. We need 10 dancers who can sing, or singers who can dance. You know, so there's that in every production there's that breakdown. So it's good to have a basic knowledge of dance.
Isn't that the advantage of somebody like Red, who is a good mover?
Yeah, he's a great mover. Yeah, definitely. And they don't. If you're a singer who can dance, they don't expect you to do pirouettes and to have amazing jumps. But what I noticed there, especially amongst my international castmates, is that they know what it is. Even if they can't do it, they know what it is because they trained it in drama school.
Yeah.
So the language, the jargon of just the practice of singing, for example. We have a lot of great singers, but they don't know the technique that they're using. And technique is going to be what separates, the kids from the adults, essentially.
And I suppose reading notes, being able to read music. Is that an
Again, you
advantage?
don't need to be amazing at reading notes, but just the fact that on the first day of musical rehearsals, they're going to give you a score. They won't hold your hand through it. They're going to give you a score. And automatically, you sit beside my castmates, they all know exactly what they're highlighting and covering. So just knowing a general know-how of reading a score, learning music, reading a score, they're probably not solfeggio, experts or music students, but when they were in drama school, they were taught how to kind of look at a score and know what line to follow in terms of harmonies or whatever. So I was surprised because even those that were hired as dancers, who are dance specific or acrobats, they sang really well. Like probably better than some of our featured principals here.
Really?
Yeah, really well. And I was like, wow, I was thoroughly impressed. So the first few weeks of rehearsals, talagang mag-on yung medyo competitive nature na parang I need to prove myself that I deserve my seat. But then the fact that you're there's also a nice common acceptance that we're all hired because of our skill and because of what we bring to the table.
The Saigon run in London, in England, closed now, but do you think there'll be more Saigon productions? Is this something that's going to keep going?
Saigon is like
Will there always be a Saigon some part in the world?
probably.
They're opening in Germany soon, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they're doing it in Vienna, and that's a Cameron McIntosh show. So far, all the Cameron McIntosh shows are amazing. Like, Phantom, Les Mis. These are what they call museum pieces na nga sa London.
Wow.
Les Mis and Phantom. That's always gonna be there. despite its age. It's like people go there, and when you say to the normal Tom, Dick, and Harry on the street, you ask them if they know anything from musical theater, they're probably going to say Les Miserables or Phantom of the Opera. And Miss Saigon is already kind of, teetering on there, it's getting there. I think the only criticism of Miss Saigon right now is because we're now at a time in the world where we're so aware of political correctness, of gender, in gender and in race. So I think that's the criticism now of that show. As beautiful as the songs are, and as beautiful as the show is, people are kind of questioning where its place is now in a world that can actually see women no longer as victims or Asians no longer as needed to be saved by the whites. So those are the general dialogues around Miss Saigon, which is interesting because now you have newer Asian stories that are popping up. All around, in theater makers all around the world. They're now, even on Broadway, people are saying Asian stories need to be told. So you have Felix Taro with Nacho Tambunting.
Oh yeah.
That's a very Filipino story. You have, but there's a new Janine Tesori musical that they premiered in LA, which is basically an all-Asian American creative team about Asian America. One is casting is changing because if it's not an Asian story or a story about a minority, it's being told intentionally by minorities. So you have Hamilton. I think Hamilton changed the game because all of a sudden a very American story conceptually is told by non-whites.
Right.
It's in the concept, and when I say conceptually, when you look at the casting brief for Hamilton, they are very specific about all the roles being not white.
Really?
Yeah. So Alexander Hamilton, they'll say Latino, Black, Asian.
Has an Asian
Malay.
played him yet?
Yes, I
Parang
think
may nabasa ako
in
nun.
one of the tours, in one of the touring companies. Filipino, I think, or a Chinese one, I'm not sure, but Asian American. And I think creatively, what they're trying to say is, I think what Lin-Manuel was trying to say is, it's America, about the founding father of America, as told by how you see Americans now, which is all of these colors. Right? And the only white character in the casting breakdown is King George, is the British king.
Right.
That's the only white character. So it's so interesting now. So Hamilton opened that door. In Les Miserables, and I think Cameron McIntosh was already like a pioneer in that,
Yes.
casting traditionally white characters with non-white actors. So you have Leia playing Eponine and Fantine. You have a black Cosette
Oh yeah.
on the West End. You have a black Eponine. I mean, so many. There's a Filipina in the ensemble in the West End right now.
Of which production?
Of Les Mis.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's exciting. I mean, there's so many exciting opportunities if you're not white. And even in the casting breakdown, they call it the BAME actors, or Black, Asian, Minority, and Ethnic.
What is it called? Bay?
BAME.
Bay.
B-A-M-E. So Black, Asian, Minority, or Ethnic. So a lot of the stories now are being told by BAME actors. As when
Global na tayo eh.
Yeah,
That's the reality.
because our sensibilities now is just completely colored, multicolored, and multiracial. So it's exciting to see the shows now. That I'm sure when you watched at the Barbican, there were so many colors on stage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Not only that, Wax, when I went to London 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
konti lang puti nakikita ko. There were mostly all kinds of minorities. You know, so
And that's the reality we live in now.
at least London was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the reality we live in now. So the people who are making shows, movies, or plays are living in that reality.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to them not to whitewash any of the story. Phantom, it's already multicolored.
Yeah.
And now if you look at the casting, it's so exciting because it will say age, it will say age or like singing range, whatever, and then ethnicity, any.
Fantastic.
So it's so exciting. So now I'm a little bit more empowered to go into an audition.
Yeah.
I just went into an audition. I don't want to say which one.
Okay.
I went to an audition where traditionally it has always been a white guy that they cast, and I got invited to audition for that character, and I felt really, really good. I think I was the only person of color that went in for that role.
Awesome.
So it's exciting. Really, really exciting.
Konting tulak na lang.
Yeah, I mean, you have it's not just in theater, it's Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Crazy Rich Asians was a nice little, push, but then it's not just that. You have now in Netflix, you have so many Asian faces and Asian stories there.
Yeah.
Or not even Asian specific. It's just stories that happen to have an Asian actor
Yeah.
playing it.
Yeah. And it works.
And it works. It works.
So what are your plans? Next.
I'm pursuing the life of an actor, so I have.
So it's no longer considerate of ethnicity. Where do you now shift your focus in terms of improving yourself as a performer?
Skill. I think, it's all basic skill now as an actor, and your instrument. I realize is I'm a little bit behind in as far as being competitive with the other actors that go into rooms for auditions. One is accent work,
Yeah.
language work, learning a musical instrument, because there are so many shows now that will say preferably can play an instrument, because now conceptually the shows that are maybe not commercial but smaller have the actors playing the actual instruments.
Yeah.
So I can have a great voice, but then the next guy that goes into the audition room can have a great voice and can play the guitar. So you're like,
Yeah.
it's basically skill work. It's about checking more skills on the list.
Does that mean acting classes?
Acting classes as well, and voice class. I found my voice teacher in London, and I'm constantly visiting him. And it's nice to have someone tell you the current practice of voice and the current technique and utilizing that, because it's literally, I realized na medyo behind talaga tayo, old school kumbaga, yung alam natin in terms of technique. And what's interesting to us is a lot of the singers, not just musical theater, even the pop singers in the UK go through vocal lessons, constantly go through voice lessons. And then now the sound of musical theater is also changing.
Yes.
It's becoming very pop
Very pop.
and very rock.
Yeah.
You have Bat Out of Hell, which is all rock. And it's one thing to have a rock voice. It's another thing to know how to replicate that 8 shows a week.
Right.
And you can have someone who can sing opera and sing heavy metal at the same time.
Amazing.
So it's really skill, and they know it. They can switch it on. They can change.
Teka, there's a Shakespeare group that's coming in, Rose Theater.
The Rose Theater. Yeah. I saw that. I didn't watch their show, but I saw the actual Rose Theater
Yes.
in York when we visited.
Okay, so there's at York there are 2 productions, Richard III playing and Romeo and Juliet. Romeo is a Filipino,
Oh, really? Yeah.
but he's a Filipino Brit.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
he
very exciting. I mean, it's so encouraging when. I'll be very honest. It's so encouraging when you hear non-Filipinos compliment how you look
Yeah.
and your castability. Like I was told by my voice teacher, you sound like a leading man and you look like one. And I never pictured myself to be that when I was doing Miss Saigon, because our leading men, at least in Miss Saigon, were gorgeous, tall, imposing white guys, right? I'm like, maybe I was already starting to find my other niche, and we have my British voice teacher telling me, oh, you should go for leading man roles. I'm like, that's interesting, because I was already kind of accepting where I was gonna go in terms of character, or
Vocal technique that you're learning. mean, anong,
Massive.
Really?
My
would love
range,
to hear you sing
my
before you-
range blew out of proportion, and it's not only range; it's sustainability. So I can repeat it easily. I'm not afraid of the long. Hindi ako nawala ng boses at all in the Miss Saigon run. Like not one day. The
Yeah.
only time I went off was not because I couldn't sing, but because I had the flu.
Okay.
But not because I couldn't sing.
Teka, mag-Shakespeare ka. Dapat mag-Shakespeare ka while you're there.
That's the goal, but it's so intimidating because language. I'm really like I'm still quite scared. I really want to, but then I want to take classes as well.
Yeah.
I'm planning.
That's a staple. I mean,
That's a staple. And the Shakespeare now. If you go and see Shakespeare there, it's so colored. It's so gorgeous. I saw Midsummer Night's Dream
Yeah.
with Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones
Wow.
and the Bridge Theater. It was in a black box.
Really?
Yeah, it was in a black box, and we were in the pit. And just seeing these actors straight up near your face and acting to your face, and different colors and different ethnicities, it was so exciting. So that's the goal. So yung insecurity ko na parang baka hindi ako kasing galing mag-English than the Brits, they actually don't see it that way because they like hearing a different sound.
Well, I'll tell you, many years ago, on Broadway, I saw Ching Valdez. You know her? She did Lady Macbeth and spoke in Ilocano throughout. It totally worked.
That's what I mean. Like I saw Top Girls in the National Theater,
Yeah.
and there was a couple of Asian actresses there, and I realized that they like the sound because they can still understand the English.
Yeah.
But it does provide a different sound because we're of a different body type. I mean, our Asian sound is quite different, and culturally. And I think the casters and the creatives there, they love that diversity.
Yeah.
They welcome it.
Diversity. That's the word.
So I needed to kind of change my mindset as well because here we are growing up thinking, we have to sound like the whites, or we have to look like the whites, or we have to. Doon, it's all about embracing your originality and your uniqueness.
Awesome.
And it's very exciting. There was a play The Legend of Dorian Gray,
Okay.
about this handsome
Yeah.
man that never ages, and they cast a Filipino Brit.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a musical or one of those smaller shows. He was a Filipino Brit, and looks very Filipino, very handsome, but very.
Is it still
Filipino.
playing?
I think it was a short run as well.
Hindi ko na-
But then it's really exciting, and it's also challenging because you're forced not to just rely on your talent. You're forced to keep honing it. If you're a good singer, you can't rest on that. You have to keep honing because there are always going to be better singers.
Yeah.
If you're a good actor, you can't rest on that. Keep honing it. Lots of learnings in specifics, like we can talk after your blog, pero like on looking at text and pronunciation. So we would have like a dialect coach
Yeah.
or a language coach to coach us on how to attack words.
Yeah.
And it's very different. Very different from what we learned growing up here with the repertory
Yeah.
kind of. It's changing. Vocal technique is also changing. So it's very exciting.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I'm.
All of a sudden, like, I know you're gonna land roles.
I hope so.
Given that background now.
It's nice. It's humbling as well because like in King and I cover Lunta,
Yeah.
but I'm not guaranteed any shows. And if you're covering a principal, Lunta is only on for 2 scenes
Right.
in that show, right? So I cover him, but if I'm not covering him, I'm in the ensemble, and I'm literally just a monk or a guard, right? But you really feel like there are no small parts because as insignificant as you think you are, just standing in the corner, it's this gorgeous picture that the director has created. It's a beautiful picture when that scene happens, when the monks cross, or when the guards are properly framing the throne room.
Yeah.
You might feel insignificant, but then you're really part of this beautiful picture, which won awards on Broadway and in West End. So it's humbling.
Best Revival? Siguro, no? Best
I think it
Revival,
won,
yeah.
or it was not.
Teka,
Yeah.
you told me earlier you went for this role versus Lion King. Why that decision?
Yeah, so I auditioned for Lion King. Also got offered for the international tour, but I wanted to stay in the UK
I see.
because if I stayed in the UK, it would open me up to more auditions there.
Got it.
And it's already tough. It's already, to be honest, it's already tough auditioning while on the road. While the casters are open to self-tapes, and taking a self-tape is already a craft in itself as well.
Okay.
I've been sending tapes because usually auditions are in London and we're somewhere else. We're in Manchester and some other city. I send self-tapes and I get called back through self-tapes, but it's nothing like being there to
course.
actually audition in the room. That's the best gauge. Because then they'll see your presence, they'll see you may not be 6 foot, but if you're shorter but you can feel tall, and it's all about that impression you make in the room. So yeah,
Important to be there present.
yeah, so hopefully I'll have more opportunities to be in the room when I'm there.
Awesome. Wackie!
Very exciting.
Joaquin Pedro Valdes. London actor.
Oh yeah.